Okay, for this example, we're going to use iterators or an iterator to move through the list element, so basically traverse it and look at its content. So what we will do this time, we will use containers to create a list out of it and an iterator. In the meantime, also, we're going to make the list have an object or object within a node, right? So instead of a typical example where you simply have an integer as part of the node as the payload, we're going to actually put some sort of an object, okay? So we're going to have to design a class and instantiate a couple objects or three, and then put them in the list and see how we can traverse the list and look at the content of these objects. Okay, so that is my approach to this, or the strategy of what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to split this program into sections here, all right? So I need to know what directives I'm going to need. One of them will be this, right? So we're going to use containers. Okay, so we're going to use the standard or template library that has list in it, STL. Okay, so the rest are pretty much anything we've seen so far in C++. And let's have our main function here. I'm going to do a couple things with this example. I am going to traverse the list within main, and then I will send the list to a function just to demonstrate that you can actually pass a reference to a list to a function and handle it with an iterator outside of main. So this is going to give us a lot of flexibility in terms of coding. All right, so a couple things. Like I said, I'm going to break this up. So I'm going to need the class declaration and definition. I'm going to do all of it here, right here. Okay. Next, I might have a function to handle a list in terms of traversing and accessing node content or payload. Okay. All right, so we're going to do that. At the end, I'm going to cap it with that example. All right, so let's go ahead and put a system pause here to hold the screen for us. And let me save this. And this would go under iterator example 2. As you can see, I've done another example prior to this. Oops, not iterator. And I'm going to save it in this directory and call this one iterator ex2. Okay. And it's a .cpp file, so we're good there. Okay. So now's a good time to compile and run. As you can see, you will simply press any key to continue. Let's see if I can make the screen a little bigger. No, it's as far as it will go. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and declare a class, let's say student, and we want to put a name in it and retrieve a name, right? So we could do something like this. Class student. Okay, so this is typical what we've done so far in object-oriented programming. Okay, private, and we're going to have a string name. So this is the attribute for that class. We're going to manipulate this attribute through a constructor and through an accessor and or a mutator and access it through an accessor. So I want my public functions to be here. Let's say And I'm going to define all the functions here, so I'm going to make this simple. So here's our default constructor. As you can see, it does nothing here. Let's have an overloaded constructor that takes a string n. And what we'll do, and we'll make name equal what you just passed there. Right? So pretty straightforward in case you want to use an overloaded constructor, which I will in this example. So I need a setter just in case I create an object with the default constructor. So something like this, void set name and string n, same thing. It will do exactly the same. And that would be name equals n. Okay. Next, I will go ahead and get a string back. So get name and simply return name. There you go. All right, so now is a good time to again compile this just to make sure that we're not getting any syntax errors. Everything looks good. All my functions are inline, defined right away, okay? Which means I can create instances of these students.